Welcome back to another edition of Matchbook's Weekend Football Podcast. Mark O'Hare was on his own last week. This week we have Adrian Clarke as well. And you know what? AC, no pressure because Mark had 4 winners from 5 bets. So,
Did
so
he?
here we go.
Oh dear, oh
Yeah.
dear.
So we expect a similar batting average from you, man.
Well,
No pressure.
I should do my level
Yeah.
bet. We got 7, haven't we? I think we got
Yes.
7 bets overall. So yeah, as long as I can get as many winners, I'll take
I
that.
just want about 6 winners from you, mate. It shouldn't be that hard. Come on. Open. Yeah. You know what, AC? Let's first of all, before we're going to do 4 Premier League games, use 3 EFL selections. But let's talk about the Liverpool quadruple chance. And currently at matchbook.com, we see it there, produced brought up on the screen 10.0. And as I look at the odds checker grid, and this is now being recorded on Thursday morning, this price is available up until 12:30 on Saturday when they take on Newcastle, which we'll cover in a bit. 365, 8.56, Sky Bet 8.42, Paddy Power 8.18. And Adrian, let's take a look at the run-in. So, look, in the Champions League, they're obviously fresh from that 2-0 win against Villarreal. They're favourites now for that competition. They're favourites to lift the trophy in the FA Cup against Chelsea. We've 5 games left in the Premier League, and you're kind of basing this on the fact that, like, City are going to slip up somewhere. Leeds away, Newcastle at home, Wolves away, West Ham away, and Villa at home. The question is, will City slip up? Because I don't know where Liverpool are losing a game or even drawing a game.
There's a possibility of a slip up because, as we saw with the Manchester City Real Madrid game, there are clear vulnerabilities about City. They're struggling in the fullback area at the moment. I know Joao Cancelo will come back in this weekend, but they are such an attacking force. It's all about going forward that you do think that sides that have a bit of pace, that are willing to run in behind, might cause them problems. Even the Watford game, where they absolutely battered Watford, didn't they? It was 5-1. 3 big chances for Watford. So I can see City slipping up potentially in one of the games, no more than one. But Liverpool have the tougher running, in my opinion. I think the Spurs game, a lot of people are looking at that negatively from a Spurs point of view, and I get that, but Spurs went to City and won, didn't they? And they seem to turn it on. Or Son and Kane seems to turn it on in those kind of games, and where opposition sides will leave a bit of space for you on the break, and they're devastating on the counter, aren't they, Tottenham? So I like the price. It's a great price for Matchbook, and I would, personally, from a neutral perspective, and I am neutral, I've got no vested interest here. I would love to see it happen because I want us to savour something unique that's never been done before, the quadruple. And I do think that this Liverpool side are just amazing. I really do. I think they're the best Liverpool side since the early 80s, maybe ever. They're certainly one of the best Premier League teams in history. And
something,
I'd like to see
if you don't mind me asking your opinion, is something Jonathan Wilson brought up in the Champions League podcast. He said for the first time, he feels that the strength and depth of Liverpool is comparable and probably even better than City. Would you go along with that?
I do. Now? Yeah, I do. Yeah, absolutely I do. I think that we've seen it. We've seen the evidence with our eyes, haven't we, in recent weeks, recent months. Jurgen Klopp has changed things from the bench for the better. And we didn't even factor in Origi as part of that equation. We talk about a big front 5. It's a front 6. So he's got 6 options in the forward areas. We've seen him rotate the midfielders to great effect, I have to say. Defensively, Konate is a wonderful stand-in for Matip, should you need it. He's never lost in a Liverpool shirt, which is quite remarkable. And I have to say that Tsimikas has been excellent when he's come in for Robertson, and Gomez the same for Alexander-Arnold. You know, I worked on the game recently and he put in some great crosses to Joe Gomez. Yeah. So no, I think that Liverpool actually have a better strength in depth than Manchester City, who look a bit thin, don't they, at the back at the moment. We saw Stones start at right back the other day. Obviously, he came off injured. In midfield, Fernandinho's maybe getting a bit more game time than anticipated. And at centre back, there are 1 or 2 issues, I think. So no, I think Liverpool have the edge over City, but it's can they put it all together and cope with the backlog of big fixtures. Really, it's going to be so hectic for them. That's the negative.
And remember, we got the FA Cup as well sandwiched between the third last game against Villa and Southampton, the second last game.
Yeah, and I don't make Liverpool overwhelming favourites to beat Chelsea. I know people might think that's what we're talking about. Chelsea have been, pretty ropey in recent weeks. Thrashed by
but they're a great cup team. Are they
exactly.
one-off game?
This is Tommy Tuchel.
Great cup team.
We're talking about in a one-off game.
Yeah.
In a one-off game, it's hard to back against Thomas Tuchel, and their season is all about the FA Cup final. Now, for Liverpool, it's absolutely not about the FA Cup final. So I think that is a 50-50 game. I think Liverpool have their foot in the Champions League final. If they play City, I'd make that an absolutely 50-50 final. If they play Real Madrid, I think Liverpool wipe the floor with Real Madrid, even though they've got this unbelievable belief and talent and sort of stickability. Liverpool should beat them. They really should. So that's So much depends on what happens over in Madrid next week. It's a possibility. Personally, I think it's a good fun bet. I really do, just to keep the season alive. And and personally, like I said, I would love to see history made this season, because I think there's a lot to like about this Liverpool team. Not least the fact that they play football in a very attack-minded manner, but they are also rounded. They're not as gung-ho as some of the other teams around. So, we've got a great few weeks coming up.
And what I will say, and I'll actually just ask my producer to bring up the offer in about 2 minutes' time around this as well, our new sign-up offer. But as an emotional hedge, and I wouldn't really kind of, propose this too often, but chatting to our producer, Dan, pre-recording, he has a lot of Liverpool friends. Yeah. And obviously, if you're a Manchester United fan as well, you have a lot of Liverpool friends, and you'll never hear the end of this quadruple special. So if you want to kind of envision that coming down the line, at the end of May, maybe this is possibly one just the back, so it might just soften the blow slightly.
It's a good shout. It's like a jinx bet. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, it's one of those ones. If it wins, it wins. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, no, I've sort of been guilty of doing something similar myself in the past. So I would understand people doing that, and it must be so exciting for Liverpool fans. Absolutely brilliant times for them. And But we'll see. They've got a tough game at the weekend. We'll get to that shortly.
Yeah,
Newcastle
we'll get that shortly.
It's not a walkover, that one, because Newcastle are in decent nick.
Yeah, so look, you can find this under the podcast specials at matchbook.com. And if you haven't got a matchbook.com, and if you want to check this out in the odds checker grid, we are more or less the best price. We normally do a podcast double. Mark and Adrian, but Mark's obviously away this week, so that will be available there. And if you see the price better elsewhere, please ping us on social media, on Twitter at Team Matchbook, or my own channel at Sully Matchbook. For those listening or watching us today, if you don't have a Matchbook account, you can sign up today by using the bonus code INSIGHTS30, and that's for the £30 bet if you're £30 money back if your first bet loses. So you might want to have it on the Liverpool at 10.0 to win just under 300 quid. And, if it doesn't win, you get your money back anyway. So not a bad deal. All right, Adrian, we spent enough on that. It's going to be fascinating. And thankfully, the last couple of years, we haven't had much to talk about at the end of April and May in terms of a title run, and it's good to see. And this is a real bonus with the quadruple. All right, let's focus on fourth place first of all. We're going to cover Arsenal's game on Sunday and also topping the race for that. We'll then cover City and Liverpool as well. Let's take a look at the match odds at the moment as we have it for West Ham and Arsenal. You can back the Hammers here at 4.8. Arsenal 1.84. The draw available at 4.0. West Ham plus 3/4 of a goal at 1.88. And you can back Arsenal minus 3/4 of a goal at 2.04. 2.5 is the total, and it's shaded towards the over there. So potentially goals expected in East London. And Adrian, I kind of, looking at this price for West Ham and Arsenal here, I suppose we're recording this on Thursday morning, an absolutely massive tie on Thursday, the first leg of the Europa for West Ham against Eintracht Frankfurt. And the price is built that way, that you're envisioning that all the focus for West Ham is on, a pretty big deal, a European trophy, Europa League. And, they're going to be looking off, taking their eyes off the ball. It's not always that easy in sport. One team is more to play for. But even the Gunners' recent good form, it's hard to go against them in this one, right?
It matters. Yeah, I think who knows what's going to happen tonight against Eintracht Frankfurt, but you'd like to think the tie will be alive. And if the tie is alive, then David Moyes will rotate heavily in this game, because that's their season, isn't it? The Europa League. It's all on that. We saw the big names rested at Chelsea last weekend. We also saw a very pragmatic approach, didn't we, from from David Moyes. So you look at the odds here and you think, oh, they look really short, Arsenal here. And the obvious one in any other sort of point in the season to get West Ham on that kind of handicap, plus 3/4 of a goal at a backable 1.88 stands out, doesn't it? Because they've been really strong at home, and it still will be tempting to a number of people, I'm sure, this weekend, because I do believe it will be a close game. I can't see Arsenal romping away with this one. There's a lot of pressure on them, and West Ham, a very, very strong side. So yeah, the West Ham on the handicap angle is one that sort of immediately leapt off the page. But when you take into account they don't have very many fit defenders, and that probably Bowen, probably Antonio, maybe Rice will all sit this one out, then that does put the it puts the match in favour of Arsenal, no doubt about that. So you look at the stats over the course of the season, and you'd also say goals, because I think London Stadium has had, it's averaged over 3 goals a game. It's one of the highest scoring stadiums. Both teams to score has landed 76% of the time at London Stadium this season. That's the most of any home ground in the Premier League this year. So you look at that angle, BTTS, it's a good price, 1.8. It's backable, but then in the back of your mind, you think, yeah, but there's no Bone here. There's no Antonio. There are factors that just put you off of those two bets, which statistically over the course of the season really stand out.
Yeah, in terms of the selection here, Adrian, we're kind of partial to these bets, and I won't lie, I got caught in one of these the weekend during the week. I did City to win and under 4.5 goals, which was a selection from the guys in the podcast, and it can go wrong too. But alternatively, you can kind of come in at, so your selection is Arsenal under 4.5 at 2.22, but you could potentially go Arsenal and over 1.5 if you're expecting more goals, but you've decided to chase the former Arsenal under.
Yeah, look, in any other point of the season, I would maybe look at overs here. And if you look at Arsenal, the last 2 games, absolute carnage, pure chaos, isn't it? They don't look secure at the back. No. They've got their own issues at full-back at the moment, Arsenal. And attack is very much the best form of defence for them. But I look at this from a tactical point of view and how Moyes will set up, and I just think he will play it safe. It's Moyes' natural inclination to go safety first, especially if he's really short on defensive players. And he won't want to get battered in between, ahead of the Eintracht Frankfurt result. So I think it's going to be a really pragmatic approach from West Ham. That's not good news for Arsenal, because they're better when there's space to find in beyond. When the game is a little bit messier, I think Arsenal are certainly more of a threat. So breaking them down is going to be maybe the order of the day for Arsenal. And that's something they're less comfortable with. I envisage something more like the Villa-Arsenal game, if you cast your mind back there. Arsenal won it 1-0, probably deserved to win by more, but could have lost it or drawn it towards the end. That's the sort of match I envisage here. So for that reason, Arsenal and under 4.5 is the standout selection. It's a good price. It beefs up a pretty short Arsenal here. I just can't look beyond the motivation. And there's so much more motivation for the Gunners here compared to West Ham that I don't want to oppose them.
You talk about that team motivation, and I think we're going to see it in the next game as well. And let's move on to Spurs, still on Sunday. And it's going to be a fascinating Sunday in terms of the race for the top 4 of the Champions League. The Champions League spots in the Premier League. Tottenham at 1.5. Jeez, they're short there.
Yes.
Obviously, we'll talk about that in a second, right? Leicester 7.6. Draw available at 4.8. Leicester getting 1.25 goal start at 1.9. 3 is the total. And look, it's a kind of a rinse and repeat situation here. Leicester, big game against Roma on Thursday night at the King Power. That could be a fascinating tie there. We're obviously envisioning that they're going to rest a lot of players here. But Tottenham have been such a paradoxical kind of team, Adrian. I mean, a couple of games ago, they had that 3-game stretch with the 12 goals against Villa, Newcastle, West Ham. They haven't scored against Brighton and Brentford. Exactly. There you go. Even more than that. So, they're hard to figure out. But again, we're envisioning Leicester are going to rest and rotate with this
Yeah.
point. Otherwise, Tottenham are at 1.5.
It's not just about the rest and rotation. It is the same. It's the same. You've got a team that's going to be involved in Europe, that's likely the tie will be alive, don't have anything to play for. It matters. It definitely matters here. Yeah. With Tottenham, I think it comes down to the style of opponent as much as anything as well. And for that reason, I think that, look, Brighton and Brentford, they solely just worked out a way to nullify Kane and Son, and they did a brilliant job of it. It worked. Hand on heart, even though we can all see it works. Brendan Rodgers knows that works. Mikel Arteta knows that works. Jurgen Klopp knows that works. But hand on heart, do we think that those three managers are going to change the way they play just to stop Kane and Son? I don't. It's not Brendan Rodgers' style. It's not his thing. It's about, we play our game. We press. We want control of the game. If that means we leave a highish line and are vulnerable, so be it. I think that's the way Arteta will approach it. I think that's the way Klopp will approach it, which means that Spurs for the next 3 games might enjoy themselves a little bit more in terms of having the space for those guys to run into. Again, I'll go back to the handicap here. You can get Leicester on 1 plus 1.5 goals at 1.71. And they're more than capable of going there and drawing the game or losing by 1, aren't they, Leicester City?
But the question is will Soyuncu be playing like so?
Well, it depends, doesn't it? He probably will, actually. He probably will, because you would imagine Evans and Fofana would get the nod in Europe. Look, Leicester have a great record of scoring goals on the road. I think only Arsenal and Liverpool, they've blanked in. Spurs have conceded in 6 of 7 home games against top half sides this season, and Leicester are a top half side. So again, you could look at both teams to score. You could look at the overs here. But for me, the overriding factor is Leicester will be depleted. They will have their mind on other things. And I do think that stylistically they're kind of made for Spurs. We saw Spurs win 3-2, didn't we, in the reverse? I mean, there's a bit of revenge there, by the way, for the Foxes, who gave them 3 points, didn't they, with those 2 concessions late on. But yeah, you could look at this from a Leicester handicap angle, and I'd find it hard to disagree. You could look at both teams to score or overs, and again, I'd say, well, that makes complete sense. But for the context of the game, I can't look beyond Spurs here, bouncing back. But I would like to pair them, because obviously they're too short, aren't they? At 1.5, you can't just back Spurs like that. So, if you pair them with +1, over 1.5 goals, so taking out the 1-0, all of a sudden that's it's in a kind of range where we can back that, and that would be my selection here.
Yeah, look, it's a short enough price, but it's a pretty solid selection there. Spurs and over 1.5 goals at 1.72, and that's available at matchbook.com. All right, let's move on to Saturday. We'll talk about the title contenders. Leeds United against Manchester City. First of all, City, that's the later game on Saturday. Leeds, you can back at 11.5. City, no surprise, at 1.32, which is just under 1.3's on in fractional terms. Draw available at 6.2. 1.5 goal handicap here. Leeds getting a 1.5 goal start, and odds against 2.06 and 3.25 is the total. All right, Adrian, look, I mean, I think Stones is out for City. Okay. I'm not sure if Walker's back. He's still a bit of a doubt. But either way, I mean, exactly. Cancelo's going to be back in there. So Zinchenko will stay on the left and Cancelo's on the right. But even the guys they can bring in, Gundogan, Grealish, these kind of guys, it's not a bad thing, is it? Like, where he can kind of rotate in these guys pretty comfortably.
I think so. Yeah, it depends what team he's got in mind for Real Madrid for the reverse leg, because what a game. What a game that was. That was brilliant, wasn't it? Absolute chaos.
I'm pretty sure, I'm just talking about Kyle Walker. If you're Pep, right, after seeing Fernandinho match up against Vinicius, you're just going to probably rest this guy this weekend, because you need him in the Bernabeu come next week, right?
Oh, no, I think Cancelo was sure. I think he'll be back for that, won't he? I think it's
you're right. Sorry,
I think the
suspension. Either ways, you put Cancelo on the left, and
I think you need a bit of pace on that right back slot. I think Cancelo can handle Vinicius. But yeah, goodness me, that was a mismatch, wasn't it? Although Fernandinho did great, didn't he, for taking him the other way for the goal. This is an interesting match because Leeds are clearly a bit more solid under Jesse Marsh. They're on an unbeaten run at the moment. Less vulnerable, aren't they, than they were? But the bottom line is they have a truly abysmal record against the best teams, don't they? Leeds United. It's shocking. They've conceded 38 in 9 games versus the top 6 this season. That average is out of 4.22 per game, which is a disaster. Obviously, the 7-0 against City, plays a part in that. But
but obviously with that kind of situation, I mean, that's Bielsa all out. It's a bit like Hasenhüttl with Southampton. Exactly. Even when they're behind, they don't change.
Exactly. And they have changed a bit, and they are slightly tougher to open up, aren't they, under Jesse Marsh? But the players are the same. They're still, they're not become particularly better defenders. So you have to fancy Manchester City to score goals here. Obviously, it'll be a raucous atmosphere. I think that the question mark here is, what can Leeds do? Can Leeds hurt City? You look at Dan James up front and you think, okay, a bit of pace in behind, maybe. Rodrigo's come into a bit of form. Rafinha's always worth a goal. But City this season on the road in the Premier League have kind of been tight, haven't they? They've not given that much away. They've conceded the fewest number of away goals, which I think is something worthy of respect. They've only conceded 8 in 16 away games. 9 away clean sheets for Manchester City this season. And I look at Leeds across the last 2 games. They had an XG of under 1 in both of those games. Obviously, one against Palace, wasn't it? I think the other one was Watford. So, two easier games, and they didn't really create a great deal. And I'm thinking here, can they lay a glove on City, who know the importance of this game? I'm not sure they can. Yeah, there are 2 picks here, really. I think. Yeah, in my opinion, it's City and over 2.5, 1.8. It's I wouldn't put anyone off of going down that route, but I want to stretch the odds a little bit here and put my eggs in Manchester City reverting to type in terms of being solid away from home, but having too much for the opposition. And you can get Man City to win to 0 at Elland Road. Given how bad Leeds are against the top sides, I think price of 2.44 is very, very attractive. So that would be my selection here.
Yeah, it's a big price, just under 64. City to win to 0, 2.44. That was actually one of Mark's best selections with the Liverpool and Everton game last weekend as well. Look, obviously they should have probably had that penalty, but outside of that, they weren't.
Do you know what? I didn't think it was a pen, but I didn't think it was as controversial as us. What I did think was that if it was at the other end of the pitch, Liverpool might have got that. But a lot of Liverpool fans have come after me having said that on a podcast. so I'll leave it there. But yeah, you saw how defensive Everton were. Yeah. I don't think Leeds will set out to be super defensive here at all. Yeah, but can I see them hurting City? Not really.
All right, so City to win to 0. Obviously, keep clean sheet at 2.44. If you're on the matchbook.com site now, as you're kind of listening to us or watching us, that'll actually appear at City to win and both teams to score no. It's essentially the same bet, same price, but also a away team to win to 0. So there's 2 ways of getting in there now, if you want to do that. Pretty much the same thing. Okay, let's move on to earlier kickoff on Saturday, Newcastle against Liverpool. The current betting as we have it at matchbook.com. Come back to Toon Army here at 8.8, Liverpool at 1.44, the draw available at 5.1. Newcastle getting a 1.25 goal start in the main Asian handicap at 1.95. 2 3/4 is the total and slightly shade towards the over. All right, Adrian, we kind of go through this every week. 12 wins in their last 13 Premier League games. Liverpool outscoring their opponents 33-4, 10 clean sheets as well. Look, Newcastle have improved. They obviously had a very good calendar year of 2022. But the way this Liverpool team are playing right now, this machine like the efficiency, the quality, it's got to be them. You got to get with Liverpool somewhere.
I can't oppose them. It's the same pattern with all of these 4 Premier League games that we've picked here. Yeah. Arsenal, West Ham, big motivation against a team that will rest. Same with Spurs against Leicester. and with City, it's just a class thing where you have to say that they'll have too much. It's similar here. You can make a case for Newcastle United because their form is excellent. They're chasing a 7th consecutive win at St James's Park. It's amazing, absolutely astonishing, really. And people, you can talk about new signings and what they spent in January as much as you like, but that is a feat. Given how bad they were pre-Eddie Howe to what they are now, he has done amazingly. They're in the top half. It's crazy. I did a piece on them, this week for the Premier League. Goals conceded per game over the last 14 matches, because they've won 10 of their last 14, Newcastle. Goals conceded less than 1 a game, 0.86. Prior to that, the first 20 games of the season, they conceded over 2 goals a game, 2.15. So, they're harder to breach. We've seen that they're creating better chances at the other end of the pitch as well. And you can see them making this competitive, can't you? I think most people could. What I will say is that of the 7 matches Eddie Howe has lost, 5 of the 7 have been against the top 5. So that's where they've fallen short. No shame in that at all, is there?
No.
And I think that might be the case here. As good as they've been, as strong as they are at home, as buoyant as it's going to be at St James's Park, Liverpool have so much more to play for. Great motivation, and they are the best team in the world at the moment. Don't think there's any doubt about that. They are an absolute monster, and I just can't oppose them. You could look at Newcastle on that handicap and say, "Oof, that's attractive." I think plus 1.5 goals at home to Liverpool at 1.74. You think, maybe, because it could be a tight game, but Liverpool is so good.
It's a fair sweat, even like if hypothetically Liverpool are a goal after 60 minutes, and they're hitting them on the counter attack. Newcastle are playing a bit of a higher line. That's a tough sweat.
It's really tough sweat, yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I can't bring myself to do it. What I can do is back Liverpool and under 4.5. I know it's a stock bet on the show this season, but it's one that's produced more winners than losers. That is for sure.
Yeah.
And Newcastle, as I've said, have tightened up big time, conceding less than 1 goal a game in the last 14. Good clean sheet mentality at home. They won't be that easy to break down, but Liverpool should do it. Liverpool and under 4.5 is the way in my opinion, to get on side with possibly the champions, or champions elect. Yeah,
look, we've covered 4 Premier League games and we're kind of, obviously gone with the favourites, but it does seem like that kind of a weekend, Adrian, doesn't it? Maybe not one to overthink,
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. It's a difficult time of the season. You do get unpredictable results. But as I've said, with all of these 4 games, you can argue against the 4 favourites. You can see other ways in. But the strongest line, in my opinion, on all 4 games is to back the team that needs it. And for me, it does feel like one of those weekends. And hopefully I found a way that can get you on side with these favourites at a price that is worth going for.
Yeah, and don't forget, obviously, you can do your accumulators and matchbooks if you want to back all 4 favourites in a quad. Feel free. We won't be stopping you. Let's do a quick recap of the Premier League game before we cover the EFL. Arsenal under 4.5 at 2.22. It's a good price at matchbook.com away at West Ham. Spurs and over 1.5 at 1.72. Manchester City to win to 0 is at 2.44. And Liverpool and under 4.5 is at 1.77, the game we just covered there. Check out insights.matchbook.com. After each show, we'll do a full recap there because I know we're kind of firing out a few bets there. So from about 1 o'clock on Thursday, that will be published and you can kind of recap those selections there. All right, Adrian, you're covering the EFL. You've got 1 selection League 1, 1 in League 2, and your best bet from the Championships. You're covering all bases this week domestically, mate. Love to see it. League 1, Burton against Wycombe. And it's an interesting one. And we're kind of at this stage of the season. Obviously, teams are on the beach. Potentially, Burton are on the beach, right? 1 win their last 7. Yeah. And then the one, Gareth Ainsworth's, with his fantastic hair, Wycombe, they're very much in the hunt for the playoffs. But I love good hairstyle. 7 wins in the last 11. You fancy him to win and under 3.5
I
goals.
could see you with the Ainsworth. I could see you with that sort of mane of hair. The open neck shirt. You're a bit of a Gareth potential.
Appreciate that, mate. Cheers.
Look, it kind of follows on from what we've been saying. Okay, it's a huge weekend in League One. It's the final weekend. So much to play for. Wycombe are currently in the spot outside the playoffs, but that it's so close that anything could happen. They've got one of the best fixtures on the final day. They go to the Pirelli at Burton. Like you say, Burton have nothing to play for. They've actually failed to score in 16 games this season, Burton Albion. So they're not prolific goal scorers under Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank. Wycombe are solid. Wycombe aren't pretty, but they're really good at what they do. I see them in the flesh recently. They're direct, they're fast, they're powerful. And when they get their noses in front, do they know how to kill a game? They are outstanding.
They haven't lost a game since late February too.
They're outstanding at seeing things out. They're in great form. But I don't see a game full of goals. Burton, like I say, aren't prolific scorers. There've been a total of 4 goals in the last 5 Burton matches. So that tells you sort of, how dull they've been of late. 7 of Wycombe's last 8 matches have featured 2 goals or less as well. I looked at over 3.5 for Wycombe away games, 8 of 22. So it's a surprising amount, but the odds are still on your side. Burton home games, 7 of 22 have gone over 3.5. So again, the odds are on our side. So for me, Wycombe have all the motivation to go and win this game. They have to form. I expect them to get the 3 points they need, but I don't think it's going to be a thriller-minute game. That's not the way Wycombe are really. Certainly not in recent weeks. So Wycombe and under 3.5, pretty good price. I think when you pair it like that, I think that's pretty attractive.
Yeah, 2.5 or also in fractional terms 6-4, and that's full game under 3.5. It's not actually under 3.5 Wycombe goals. So 2.5 can very much see the angle there. To League Two, and a similar kind of theme here: Bristol Rovers to beat Rochdale. Adrian, again, look, Bristol Rovers in the hunt for a promotion spot. Rochdale, neither kind of here nor there.
Yeah, context is really important at this business end of the season, and obviously some teams can play with freedom, and the pressure can get to others. So it's not a guarantee that this whole beach thing, means that side's going to lose. It's not a guarantee, but I think the positives outweigh the negatives when you look at games in the context way. Bristol Rovers to win at Rochdale. I was surprised to see them odds against. They've worked so hard to put themselves in contention. The Gas on fire really under Joey Barton. I've looked at the 8-game form table, the 10-game form table, the 12-game form table. Where are Bristol Rovers? Second. They're flying. They've conceded 6 goals in their last 12 games. So really, really solid at the back. Not free scoring at the moment, but maybe that's to do with the fact that they're grinding out these low scoring wins. Rochdale are, I think they're 18th. It's been a pretty nothing season as far as they're concerned. They are okay at home. I will caveat that. And that's maybe why Bristol Rovers are odds against here. They're unbeaten in 4 on their own patch, Rochdale. But the motivation for Rovers is huge. Last 5 away games as well. Difficult run of games. 1-3 drawn, 1 lost 1. They won at Port Vale. They won at Northampton. They won at Crawley. These are not gimmies. Rochdale away is an easier game than all of those 3. So, they've got a kid on loan from Newcastle, Elliot Anderson. He's only 19. He's on fire at the moment. He's sort of stepping up to the plate for Bristol Rovers. So, for me, I absolutely can see an away win here. This is the penultimate weekend in League One. Loads and loads at stake here, and I think they'll do it.
Yeah, all right. And to the Championship, your best bet, Millwall to beat Peterborough. So look, Peterborough being relegated. Forgive my ignorance on this, Adrian. Your time in Southend and elsewhere. Have you been in a situation where a team has been relegated, or do you? What's a player's kind of mindset now? Like it's tough. It's really tough. Whatever about the guys, having nothing to play for, thinking about the beach, when you've been relegated as a player and having to come back out against a team that, in fairness, Millwall just don't really concede goals either.
No.
Really good defensively.
I did get relegated with Southend United actually out of League One, and I was miserable. And it's hard because in one point you just want the season over. You just want it done. You want to put it behind you and look forward to something new next season, be it at that club or somewhere else. But there's also that element of the pressure of getting the points to stay up has gone, and you can kind of just go out and have a bit more fun. So again, there's that precarious nature to it. But again, I think every single match we've covered today, it's been a similar theme. And this is the same here. Millwall to beat Peterborough. I mean, they're short on their own for obvious reasons. Millwall have a chance at getting into the Championship playoffs. This is huge for them. They've got a very good record at home to the bottom 10 sides. They've won 7 and drawn 2 at home to sides in the bottom 10. So that's it's a good gauge. Millwall have got the second best home record in the Championship behind Fulham. And in the last 8 games on home turf, won 6, drawn 1, lost 1. So strong is the message there. Posh, they've lost all but 2 away games via the top half, second worst away record. And then you look at the goals angle. 80% of Posh games this season have gone over 1.5 goals. So from Millwall, 68%. So again, you look at the over 1.5, and the odds are overwhelmingly in your favour. Millwall have not been keeping clean sheets, so there's a chance Peterborough score here, but Millwall, have got goals in them at the moment. A lot of their forward players are in good nick, and it should be a really big atmosphere at the new Den. And I just think probably a mix and match Peterborough team, because the manager will look to play a few young guys, I would imagine, just experiment ahead of next season. It could be a bit too much for some of those Peterborough players. So Millwall and over 1.5 goals looks a really strong gamble for me.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, I like the angle there. I'm surprised at the price as well. You're going to get not a bad one there at all. All right, we're out of time. Adrian, pleasure. Good man. Great stuff as ever. You can see the ticker there with the selections. We'll be rattling through those. Insights.matchbook.com, though, is the full the place to check out all of those throughout the weekend. A handy guide if you're on the move and you want to recalibrate what Adrian has picked. You can get there. Adrian, thanks. Mark will be back next week. Best of luck with your bets, guys. Fascinating couple of days ahead again. Good to have it. Good to see it at a proper title race in the Premier League and the race for the Champions League. Until next week, goodbye for now, and the best of luck with your bets.